Okay. Natalie, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Hello. Oh, yeah. Yes, I can. Of course I can. Are these... have I got a new chair? Is mine higher?
I need one of those.
Paul's requesting a higher chair as well, please.
I need a wider one for my ass. So have you seen some games while it's been down there? Have you just seen footage in that clips?
Hello.
Boy.
Oh.
I've been down for a few games, yeah.
Oh, good.
So, we played Oxford the other week there. Played Palace, played Arsenal.
What's Palace like? Was it away Palace?
Brentford, trial. Yeah, he's done really well, mate. I think they're going to offer next season at least.
Brilliant. What age is he now?
18. No, 19 next.
They can hear us on the screen.
No controversial stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the quarter-final stage for Manchester City with the first ever official encounter with Atletico Madrid. Manchester City will kick us off here.
What was it like for you watching from the sidelines?
Very frustrating at times. It just looked like there was no space and we weren't really creating like clear-cut chances like we normally do.
Looking like a classic Simeone job in waiting at the moment.
We had a lot of possession. I knew we had to just stay patient and at the right time, when we get the chance, hopefully we could finish it.
Let's see a player with more confidence now going forward.
Yeah, I think it is actually hard coming off the bench, making an impact, because you're coming on such an intense game. But you know, I was just watching the game closely.
Foden is being warmed up. His introduction would elicit quite the response from the fans.
We kind of changed the shape a little bit, played me more inside, and he's a genius, isn't it?
Jesus, Grealish and Foden will be the 1-2-3 for City. Riyad Mahrez has got 6 goals in the competition, but won't be getting one tonight. Perhaps Phil Foden can.
Before the ball came, I was just scanning, looking left and right over my shoulder, having a picture in mind, and I knew when I got the ball, it was very tight. As I turned, it was kind of like instant. I seen Kev just run off his man, and I seen his legs open, and like I said, it was just instinct, and I managed to play the ball through.
Foden. De Bruyne in! De Bruyne scores! That's what the game needed. One Phil Foden pass later. Manchester City have the lead.
When I made the impact, you know, I was obviously very happy and just delighted that we actually broke them down and could take a good result back to their place.
Well, it's brilliant from Phil Foden. First touch of the game.
The 3 substitutions had an instant impact. You know, a lovely pass from Foden to Kevin De Bruyne.
The guys were playing well, but of course we knew with Gabriel and Phil having a special energy.
Those attacking substitutions paid off, didn't they? It was a lovely pass from Phil Foden.
Phil made the run and Phil just found me perfectly.
I think it's going to be a similar game. Maybe they're going to have to, if the result stays the same, come a bit more aggressively out of the space and try and attack the channels a bit more. So if they come at us, we know that we've got that football inside that we can show as well.
Back into the mix and finds its way into the net. Gabriel Jesus glances the cross.
His delivery is excellent and City are in front. Wonderful header from İlkay Gundogan.
The most important thing, though, the result for Manchester City. They carry a 1-0 lead into the second leg at the Wanda Metropolitano. It's Manchester City against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League.
Welcome to Matchday Live. The Champions League is back. The second leg of our game against Atletico Madrid. The team are arriving now. There's our Pep. Now this is our 100th game in the Champions League. We've won 55 of the first 99, some record. It's already the most by an English side through a century of games in the competition. Overall, only Real Madrid have won one more in their first 100 games. City have won each of their last 5 matches in the knockout stages of the Champions League as the designated away side, the longest run by any side in the competition's history. There is Kevin De Bruyne, earphones on, he's focused. Welcome to Matchday Live. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Natalie Pike, and in the studio with me this evening, I'm telling you, we have the spine of a cracking 5-a-side team here. We have Paul Dickov, Andy Morrison and Trevor Sinclair. So really looking forward to picking the brains of my guests this evening. Now, of course, this is the first place to get your team news. The second that I am allowed to tell you the starting 11 for this evening, I am going to do that. And as I say that, it is right now. So I can immediately tell you that there are 2 changes to the team that drew with Liverpool at the weekend. It is, of course, Ederson, then it is Cancelo, Laporte, Stones and Walker. And Rodri, Gundogan comes in and he's captain this evening. De Bruyne, Silva, Foden, and it's Mr. Champions League, Riyad Mahrez. The substitutes for tonight: Stefan, Carson, Diaz is back, Ake, Sterling, Grealish, Zinchenko, Fernandinho, Delap, Edozie and McAtee. So that is your big subs bench for tonight. And of course, your starting 11 news. Trevor, what do you make instantly of that starting 11?
Well, obviously we knew Jesus was going to be out of the game. I think it's strong. You know, it's a strong, well-balanced side. Great to see De Bruyne playing again. And like you said, Mahrez, you know, I think he's a big game player. Pleased to see him in there. A little bit surprised that Jack Grealish is not in the side, because I thought, just with the reaction he got from the opposition in the last game, I thought he might have been key just to draw fouls, slow the game down a little bit, let us take control. So a little bit surprised about that, but listen, it doesn't matter what he rotates, Pep. It's a strong squad and everyone knows the job.
So, Andy, if we're looking at the back four there, obviously Kyle Walker is back in this game. He didn't play in the first leg because of that suspension. Are you happy to see him back?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, John Stones goes back to, go back to centre half, and that two changes the imbalance, I thought, slightly in games when it has. And for me, he's we know how quick he is. He's obviously got a little bit of a temper there as well, but. Yeah, you can only be stronger with a player like that in the team. And in this game, it's not really a game that we're going to be counted on a lot. But, he has the ability to read situations as quick as anyone.
Yeah, we were seeing his sending off there, which was so. We know Pep's talked about it a lot and his frustration about it, Paul. I
didn't even think it was a foul.
Andy mentions his pace there. One of my favourite moments from Sunday was when Salah got the ball and you thought, uh-oh, and then you realised it was Kyle Walker that was chasing him down and he just went right past him with absolutely no problems. Will his pace be useful in a game like this?
Yeah, I think it always is. They like to play a high line, and the centre-halves like to get in the ball, and especially on the other side, Cancelo pushes on high attacking lead. Sometimes we'll tuck into midfield, and I think Kyle's vitally important when teams do try and hit as a counter-attack, because I've never ever seen him do him with pace. It's unbelievable, isn't it? He eggs forwards on to try and... He done it with Mbappe.
I think it's almost like a free as well, so if the ball's not going down the right-hand side, Kyle will just tuck in a little bit and give Cancelo that freedom so he can get forward and almost make a free at the back, and he'll make a 5 in midfield.
Just on that, I mean, I'm always positive on everything, but it's just those slight moments where, there was a little bit of indecision on the second goal, and there's a point where Mane is actually goal side, and then as he scores the goal, so it's that concentration and the focus is so important. You can have blinding pace, but when you're the last man, you've got to make sure you're switched on, and just got to be aware of that tonight, because them key moments, they've got players that can hurt us.
Looking into the midfield, Andy, for the not so tactically minded of us, what is the difference when Gundogan plays?
I think he's the best at the club at arriving in the box from midfield. Everybody else shows and we create overloads, but his timing of his runs are exceptional. And, there's times in the game on Sunday where I felt just the opposite wide man wasn't gambling and making runs early enough to get in between the two centre-halves. With the way we play, it's very hard to get somebody across the centre-half because, we arrive, it's always on the second or third phase of an attack. We get our shots off. But it's... he's excellent, and he scored the amount of goals he has scored by. We just move the ball and then he'll make his runs, and he's almost becomes the centre forward. He's the one that gets in between centre halves, and I think that's his main strength.
And I think with Gundogan as well, he's such an intelligent footballer and got such a fantastic footballing brain. He knows when to slow the game down at the right times, but he also knows when to inject a bit of speed into his passing, and as Andy said, finding the runs beyond the centre halves, especially when we've not got an out-and-out number 9. Phil plays there, or Bernardo, they like to come short a lot and drag the centre halves out, and that third man run he's done, he's just so intelligent with it.
I think he's improved a lot since he's been at the football club. I think when he first got here, he complicated situations when it didn't need complicating. I think now he picks his moments, but like Andy said, his timing and that trigger, when the ball's in a certain scenario and he thinks, yeah, he's going to have time on the ball, get his head up, I can make my run, and he's timing into the box there, like you said. I think that's excellent, but he simplified his game a lot since he's been at City.
So, in terms of this game tonight, playing Atletico, what is the tactical side of playing him in a game like this?
I think just that, keeping it simple, don't over-egg it, don't try things too often. Keep it simple, move them about until we've got them in a situation where we feel we can then penetrate. And be patient on the ball. Obviously, win the ball back if we lose it. Everyone goes together, stick to task, don't be diving in. And I think one of the big things tonight is going to be keep your mentality, because I think if you look at both sides and you look at the first leg, they can't really compete. I don't think they've got the players to compete on a level if everything's pure football. So they're going to have to get a little bit into us and physical. And I think if we start reacting to that, that'll be playing into their hands. So keep your head, you know, don't react to anything. Hopefully the officiating can be good and make sure the game flows properly, and look after the players in possession. And if we do that, I think we should have a successful night.
I think Pep's obviously seen something tactically in Gundogan in these 2 games as well, because he started last week. You know, he's not always started in the Premier League games. You know, it's been Rodri, Bernardo's been in there alongside Kevin De Bruyne a lot of the times, and Gundogan's been in the bench. So I think it's the way they're going to approach the game, the way Pep sees the game. I think it's really interesting that he started last week and he's playing again tonight.
So looking more sort of to the attacking side, Andy, obviously Kevin De Bruyne plays tonight. I mean, we all adore him. We're happy to talk about him forever. Big game Kev, I like to say, because he likes to step up in these big games. Although you corrected me last week and said every game Kev, which is also true. But I think my point was also proven in the last 2 games. Obviously, he scored last week. Him and Phil Foden linked up just beautifully last week.
Yeah, that moment, it was, you know, we spoke about it many times, the teams that play that way. When Brentford come this year, they did it well, but they couldn't maintain it. And it's so hard mentally. And I think the intensity of the game as it builds, I think the manager wants everything to be done quick and fast, so that you keep asking questions of them. I mean, the timing of the ball was excellent, you know, and that comes just after a couple of substitutions, which might be what as things will go later on in the game. But I think De Bruyne is I can't say anything or echo anything that nobody else has said. His form at the moment in time and the way he's playing every single game, and even the manager, because I think the manager challenged him earlier in the season and actually said, like, you know, he needs to get fitter, needs to get a bit sharper, and needs to get back at it, and he has, and he spoke about it this week. And he said this is the strongest I've seen him, and the best period that he's been in since he's been at the club.
Just going back to that where you said about teams like having a deep block and getting 10, 11 men behind the ball, I think it'd be interesting to see what their running stats would be, because if the City players trust the process, move the ball, get them mobile, moving across the pitch laterally, bringing them out, sucking them in, I think they'd be doing a lot of running, and that's why if you trust the process, towards the end of games, they start making mistakes because they're fatigued.
Yeah, and keeping that speed up, Trev, keeping that continually. Don't slow it down, keep asking the questions, because it's so hard for that. You know, you get towards that 35, 40 minutes, and then from 70 onwards, to continually do it and not switch off. That's where, the mental side, physically, I think they can run. And what was interesting was when they actually took the shackles off a little bit, I think they're very dangerous. You know, I think 33% of the goals they've scored have been in the last 15 minutes. When the manager has said, let's go and play, that must be frustrating to play that way when you've got that quality that they have.
I think when you've got João Felix and Griezmann, Felix is a sensational player. People saying he's young, the price tag and everything else. Griezmann scored World Cups, won the World Cups and everything else.
He was last week.
I thought it's sensational, but for they two, they must be so frustrated, especially the way they played in the first half here. They were both playing like double wing backs, you know, and it just shows you that Simeone must have some mentality to go into the players to get them out and do that, especially world-class players as well.
We will have the Atletico Madrid team news for you all very shortly as well, so do stick with us for that, and we'll of course get the gents' assessment of their starting 11 as well. Going back to that goal from last week, Paul, obviously Phil Foden had come off the bench for, I think it was 1 minute and 19 seconds before he made an impact.
He's just sensational and just seems to get better and better. And you're talking about Kevin De Bruyne being a big-time player. Phil Foden already is. You know, and when he plays in the big games, you can look at Liverpool games last season, Liverpool game this season. He produces all the time, and it's the bigger the game, he seems to thrive in it the more. And he was desperate to get on the pitch last week. You know, I think we were all surprised that he didn't start. But the big difference for me when he came on, a lot of our play and possession that we had was fantastic, moving the ball, but it was all in front of Atletico's back five. As soon as Phil came on, he started driving it, and Jack Grealish, to be fair, he started committing players towards it. And you know, the assist for the goal there, it's not just the pass, he takes the ball with 4 players around him, and he's always checking his shoulder, always his first touch gets it out his feet, and he drives. And the fact that he's driven at the defenders has drawn them out, and that's allowed Kevin the space to go.
I think this is what some of the skills that he picked up, because he was so short in height when he was young.
Nothing wrong with that, mate.
I'm not looking at you on purpose, but because he is that way in his physical presence, he has to protect himself. So from an early age, his spatial awareness was better than anybody else's. Now he's caught up physically, his touch is there, his weight of pass and everything, and all of his game is just coming together.
Look how relaxed they look. Like they just look so. I mean, obviously the younger players will be thrilled to be there, but the whole squad just looks so comfortable and happy. We just seen Riyad Mahrez knocking the ball around like he was just playing with his mates in a back garden. Love to see it. In terms of Riyad Mahrez, I think everybody knows by now how fond I am of him. He scored 6 goals across his last 6 away games in the Champions League. He scored in 3 consecutive away games in the knockout stages. Some other stats for you, Andy. Most appearances in the Champions League joint 9 with Raheem Sterling. Most goals for City in the Champions League, most shots on target in the Champions League, most fouls won, most crosses. Riyad Mahrez is Mr. Champions League for us.
He's been playing really well, hasn't he? You know, and again, even when he came off the bench, there's a spark there. There's something. I understand that the latter part of a game, you know, defenders are tired and you find moments, but he excites me. You know, and although as a centre half and set my teams up defensively when I was managing, I love flair. And it excites me, and something that gets me up. Every time he gets the ball, you switch back on again, you know, because City have the ability to move the ball for a long period of time, and you can start following it. But as soon as he gets the ball, you expect something to happen, and he's got a feint, and you know, it's all right saying he's going to come back or he's going to give it. When's he going to do it? Because it's so good, his timing, and he's been a pleasure to watch this year.
He genuinely has, and I've said it before, he's my player of the season so far, and I'm really looking forward to that vote, because we're so blessed about the amount of people we could choose at the end of the season. Now, as always, if you would like to ask our guests any questions whatsoever this evening, you can do so by using our WhatsApp number. It is on your screen now. And as I like to tell you, let's test them. Come on, let's ask them like something deep and tactical, or indeed personal. We like to ask personal questions to them as well. Whatever you would like to know about our guests, get that in on the WhatsApp number. And of course, this is your reminder, get the Manchester City app downloaded if you don't have it already. What are you waiting for? It is the only place, the best place to get your commentary for every Manchester City game. It is the wonderful Alistair Mann, and tonight he is joined by Michael Brown. So get the app downloaded. Right, it is now time to give you the starting 11 and the team news for Atletico Madrid. So your starting 11 for this evening. And it is Oblak, Lodi, Renildo, Felipe, Savic, Llorente, Lamar, Kondogbia, Koke, Griezmann and Felix. Now your subs for tonight: Lecomte, Vass, Hermoso, Vesalico, De Paul, Carrasco, Serrano, Correa and Cunha. So that is your team news for Atletico Madrid for this evening's game. So I'll come back to you both, because obviously you had a quick mention there about João Felix. Starts again tonight, Paul. You're a fan of his?
Yeah, I am. And look, he struggled when he first went there. Huge price tag. I think it surprised everybody. But this season especially, you know, watching some of the games he's played in, he's beginning to be a huge influence on the team. You know, he's when they are, and we know how defensive they like to play, he's the one that gets the ball and drives at people. He's got unbelievable awareness when he does get the ball, great range of passing, and he can score goals. So I'm hoping he's playing as a double wing back again tonight, you know, because he's a huge threat. And you know, we spoke about Griezmann before, you know, top player, world class player. And we're just going to have to be aware, because they're going to defend, and they two players. And it's interesting to see Lamar in there with his pace as well tonight. You know, he didn't start last week, so all the signs are that they're going to sit in and with the three really talented players are going to look to hit us in the break.
Now, João Felix as well as Lodi both got a rest at the weekend, Trevor. So Atletico played Mallorca, who'd lost their previous 7 games. They are relegation threatened, and Atletico were beaten 1-0 by them. They rested João Felix, they rested Vesalico, who's on the bench now, and they rested Lodi. They had a shot on target in that game, though. What do you think it says, that the fact that Felix was rested in that game?
Well, I think it's how important this game is to Atletico. They're obviously taking it serious, and they want him to be able to affect the game. You know, they don't want him going into it fatigued, because he is quite young, and still you can see physically he's not quite where he wants to be, probably when he gets to about 23, 24. But if he can impact the game like this, you know, with darting runs, he's got some lovely touches, you know, he's a really cultured player. But it was a big weight on his shoulders, I thought, when he went there for such a huge sum initially. But I think that suffering that he's had to endure over the last couple of years, he's made a man of him. And you can see now, you know, when you get young players, sometimes they're flicking it blind around the corner and not taking responsibility on the ball. You can see he's been coached well. He's getting hold of it, taking a touch, finding a red shirt, So he's developing well, and I think basically resting him at the weekend is just making sure that he's tip-top for this game against Manchester City.
Andy, I say this with the greatest respect, because obviously Diego Simeone knows a heck of a lot more about football than I do. But what is it like for someone, do you think, like João Felix and also Griezmann, playing in a team, you know, real out-and-out attacking players, playing in a team like Atletico Madrid, which is, of course, so defensively minded?
Yeah, it's a big ask of the players, but you know, he's been there for a long, long time. So you're not coming in blinded when you sign for that football club. You know how we do things, and he's not going to try and persuade them we're going to go this way. So they know exactly what's expected of them. And it's why there's a level of success as a manager. The players will accept it. When it starts going wrong over a period of time, and he's had such a, you know, Champions League finals, the champions last year, it's hard for the players to argue with it when success is coming. But it will be frustrating, but I think the respect for the manager is so strong that they just go with it.
I've done it under Jerry Francis at QPR. You know, we were in the Premier League, probably punching above our weight. We had Les Ferdinand, so we knew we had a threat, and we'd all have to work back, pretty much 10 players behind the ball. And then when we got it, Andrew Impey on the left, me on the right, and we'd try and get the ball to Les Ferdinand. Literally, that was our game plan. But we were all fit. We all knew our jobs out of possession. We all were very disciplined. We had our units, knew what we were doing. And it's similar to what Simeone's doing. Atletico, obviously, better players, and they've got more players that are talented on the ball. But it can work, and if, like, you know, Andy just said there, defending champions of La Liga, they won it last year. So when you do get success and win silverware, everyone buys into it, everyone believes it.
Yeah, of course. Now, Griezmann, Paul, he's 67% he's been involved of Atletico's Champions League goals. So in terms of the goals, 6 out of 9, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 out of their 9 goals he's been involved in. So they're going to be relying on him heavily this evening.
Yeah, he's a top player. I know there was a few raised eyebrows when we went back there. Obviously, Barcelona, their financial troubles, but as a forward, I've admired him for a long, long time. You know, he always, even when he was struggling at Barcelona, whenever he's went away with France, he's always produced. And I don't think people realise how hard he works without the ball as well. Look, it's a given in a Simeone team that you have to work hard, but the quality, the flair, and the sort of reputation he's got to see him work as hard as he does, I think is an example to everybody in the team. And look, when you've seen them here and when they set up, when they did attack, the first thing they did was look for Griezmann and Felix, because they know they're the two players they've got in the team that can influence them going forward.
In terms of mentioning that Mallorca game, Andy, that they got beat at the weekend and they were able to rest players, obviously we know the level of game that we had at the weekend. Do you think that it is better to have rested players or to have had a difficult game which had a better outcome?
I think ideally players been rested, you know, and ready and fresh to go into such a big game as this. Some players will say they just want to play every game. I get that, but you know, such as the level of sports science now, and you know, the analysis on players and the red zones and all that when they're in it, they know when they're struggling. They'll even pick it up on the GPS. They'll even say that they're not covering the ground over that last 15-minute period. That'll be the manager will be made aware of that. If somebody's, you know, we played, I think it was Sporting Lisbon at home. Within 20 minutes, I could see that Bernardo was off it. He was struggling. You know, we'd won the first one 5-0. 15 minutes into the game, I could see he's so far off it. The energy levels weren't there, you know, and he was taken off at half-time. So the manager, everyone will know what's needed going into any certain game. And for me, they've identified this game as their biggest game of the season. They're not winning the title. So the whole emphasis is on this game, and it's huge for them.
Bernardo Silva covered 12.5 kilometres against Liverpool, which was the most anybody ran in the whole Premier League that weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how he is in the first 20 minutes tonight as well. Now, I've got a silly question for you all, but sometimes I think the silly questions are the best ones. Obviously, former manager, all former players. Do players need a rest at this point in the season? I
think, for me, the training is tapered. So the training is quite easy in between games, especially when you're playing so often. I think if you put the work in, as in the due diligence, and made sure the boys are doing the strength and conditioning throughout the season to make sure the muscle mass and the strength in the muscle is there, I think you can pretty much get away with not training too much and playing games. Obviously, there's a lot more sports science into it, going into the red zone and covering what the players covering ground mobility-wise. But often you can see it. You know, we have the data and all that, but that just backs up what you can see with your naked eye.
You know, the thing for me, and you know, it's mentally preparing for every game and picking yourself up and going again. Look at the run of games we've had and players that are playing in that. So you're going into the Madrid game. You then got a a day or a half to recover, and then you're back, and your mind's got to go back into Liverpool. You finish Liverpool, and you're on the plane, and you've got to get your mind into this game. You finish this, you're going. It's the mental side of it for me. And when when managers talk about players needing a rest, they need to get away from football. They need to get their mind just switch off from it, because that ask on you. I found it when I come to City that. The expectations were that high, and it was never at this level or the intensity on the size of the games. But I used to, because I was so intense about my football, I knew I could run, I knew I could do what I needed, but it was just trying to get myself mentally ready for every game. And I have to tip my hats off to these game after game after game, raising that standard again and going, let's go again. Let's go again. Let's go again. Incredibly mental strength.
I think on that as well, everyone that's starting tonight is used to that now. Over the past few seasons, you know, so that their bodies, their mind, their mentality, they're like robots. One big game, focus on that, get it finished, on to the next one. You know, it's probably Jack Grealish out of the senior players that's not experienced this before. Maybe that's why he's not been involved in the 2 European games as well. But every other player in that team, they're used to it and they thrive in it. That's what they want. They want to play in all these big games, and they want to play well in the big games because they don't want to get left out the next one.
That's what I was going to say. Because if they don't play well and they don't get the mentality right, and they're not producing performances, they're drops. That's how good and strong the squad is.
Measuring that, you know, we talk about that data, the stats and everything, but measuring the body language and the eyes of a player when he comes into a game, you know, and you got the players who are always full of energy and they're laughing and joking, but to actually see someone who looks like they've just become a bit heavy, there's an art in that itself.
I say it all the time. You're never tired if you're winning games and playing well. It's when you start losing a couple of games and people tell you you're tired, that's when you start believing it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's really. So it wasn't such a silly question. It wasn't such a silly question after all. And you mentioned Jack Grealish. We're actually going to be hearing from him a little bit later on how he feels about playing in the Champions League. Now, a little bit earlier this week, we took our cameras down to the City store to speak to some of you. We asked you what you thought about the first leg and what sort of game you were expecting from City this evening.
Yeah, really good game. It's going to be interesting, most definitely. Hope they're all feeling a bit fresh, because after Sunday's game, it's going to, you know, they're going to be a bit tired, I would have thought. So, plus travelling.
They'll be tough to break down, but I think we'll do them. I think we'll get the first goal. That's going to be important to get the first goal, I think.
I think it's going to be a tight match, but obviously the best is going to win.
Falta un poquito, bien, con fe, como se dice.
Yeah, he says he was a little fault, but all can go through.
I don't think they'll change anything. I think they might try someone else up front who's faster.
I think they'll play pretty similar, try and hit us on the break. And they've got a dangerous team, they can grab a goal.
Against Atletico, I thought City played better, for sure. Atletico were very defensive, and I don't like their play style at all.
I think if they come out and try and score, it'll just be easier for us to score, because if they're playing 5-5-0, well, it's going to be tough to break down. But if they come out and try and attack, it should be easier to get some goals against them.
Well, the first leg they parked the bus, didn't they? They did a Mourinho on us basically. But I think if City play their normal game and just keep pushing, you know, and keep attacking and don't let them onto us, I think we'll still come away with a result. Definitely.
I love this when we've been going down to the City store and speaking to real fans. I love to see how many of you travel from around the world as well. It's absolutely wonderful. So thank you so much for your thoughts there. Right, it is now time for Who's Stat? This is, of course, our game that we play with our guests every single game. You have to use these clues to work out who the previous or the current Manchester City player is. So here's clue 1. Who's Stat? This player joined City from Atletico without playing a single minute for the Spanish side. Anybody got any ideas? Oh, there's lots of thinking faces. Lots of thinking faces right now. Anybody? No, not sure?
I've not got a clue, if I'm being completely honest.
I haven't got a clue.
Nope.
No clues in the studio. Oh, I do have some exciting to tell you all, though. Name dropping here. I saw Noel Gallagher at the game on Sunday. Yes, major name drop. And he said to me that he plays Who's Stat?
Brilliant.
Right.
It's great.
And he says he gets it. So Noel, let us know if you've got that one tonight. He said he couldn't believe I hadn't got the Sean Goater one the other week, which I still can't believe as well.
Sean Goater didn't even get it.
This is true. Sean Goater did not get himself in who's start. But yeah, do join in. You'll get another clue a little bit later on. One at half time, then we will let you know who it is at full time. Use the hashtag #ManCity to let us know who you think it is. So, gents, can you believe it's what a week we've had. It's only been a week since we played Atletico here. I want to have a chat now about that game, dive into sort of the tactics and some of the things we've been hearing over the last week about the game. So, first of all, Paul, for you, what were the main talking points? What were the main things that you took away from that first leg?
Patience, more than anything else, and the experience Man City have had over the previous Champions League campaigns, because I think maybe a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they would have got overexcited, went a bit more gung-ho, and would have been hitting the brake. You know, we've seen that happening a lot to us. But the patience we showed, I think we always believed that we were going to get that goal as well, whether it was with the 11 that was on the pitch. As it turned out, you know, Phil Foden, as we spoke about, come on and done it. But the experience of the previous campaigns that's shown a maturity in the Champions League now.
I mean, Atletico, essentially, Andy, they kept themselves in the game.
Yeah.
And to them, is that all that mattered in that first leg?
I think so, yeah. You know, stay in the game. Let's not lose it. At 1-0, they'll still, you know, listen, he's a clever manager. He will flip it. They flipped it in the last 15 minutes. They went from 3-5-2 to 3-4-3. And they got the 3 up. And they got the press on us really well in that last 10 minutes, which showed enough for me to know that, you know, there's real danger there.
We're seeing one of their attacks here. I think that's João Felix out there on the left. They didn't have that many key attacking moments, Trevor. In fact, one of the stats that's been going around is that they didn't have a shot on target in the game.
Or off target. Or a corner.
No, do you know what? I'm confused, though, because I have seen one. We've got a clip of this one. Can you tell me why this isn't a shot?
Because it's a cross.
Is it? Right, hold on a minute, because I saw this and then I was like, but that doesn't fit with the stat. But obviously I must be missing something. So, why is this not a shot? So this is obviously a decent counter-attack from them.
But you look at the bodies going forwards, you can see they're committing themselves late on. He's looking to cross that. It's just a poor cross.
Right, OK. So from the other angle, that's the cross.
And from a winger's point of view, he's just not wrapped his foot around it.
I think if Ederson doesn't catch it, it's going to go wide anyway.
Oh, I'm not so
sure.
Is
that a bad angle then? Have I just seen it that angle and gone, I don't remember that?
Or maybe it's my eyes and these glasses, I don't know.
No, I just think, listen, it might have been on target, but I think it was intentionally to be a shot across, and he's just not wrapped his foot round it, and it's an easy take for
Although
Ederson.
there was no shot statistically, there was 4 or 5 incidents like that, which, from where I was just on the halfway line, we're in trouble here if they get this right. And that's what my worry, not a worry, because we'll deal with whatever comes along and we'll cause them all sorts of problems. But there's, without a shadow of doubt, these have got a serious threat on the counter-attack.
You can just see there with the guile, the touches, little outside of the foot, runs off the ball, breaking lines. You know, this is what you see with good teams, and then going to press as soon as they lose possession, trying to win the ball back. So you can see that they've had success in the past. Obviously, the reins were on a little bit for this game because they knew the strength and the ability of Manchester City, and they didn't want to open themselves.
Gundogan did so well there not to pull him.
Just got a little bit physical, didn't he? But not enough to give a foul away.
Yeah.
Excellent defending.
So is the counter-attack again the point in this game for us that we need to be really careful, Paul?
100%. I don't think we'll see them change how they play for the first 20 minutes. But still 0-0 after then, first 45 minutes, even up to 70 minutes, because they will believe that they can keep a clean sheet, and they'll also believe that, like we've seen and Andy spoke about, they were dangerous the last 15 minutes here once they opened up and they changed their system a little bit.
Just to see Lamar on the ball as well, I think he's got great ability. You know, there's rumours that he was going to come to England. You've seen there that he was trying to, you know, penetrate players with the ball, making runs off the ball. You know, he's a good player, and he's starting in this game for Atletico. So you've got to be aware, and I think that shows their intent. They know they need to get a goal to get back in this game. So maybe that's
0-0 with 20 minutes to go, and they bring Suarez on. And the player and the quality that they've got, Griezmann, Felix, then it's going to be just all out. You know, then the game will open up, and the manager will have a plan in his head today. You know how the scoring is going to, when he's going to make that decision to go all out. But when they do, the complete dynamics of the game will change, and then we'll start countering them. But the only thing is, when that happens, is without going into massive detail, Pep hates us countering
teams. We like
teams.
your detail.
He likes control.
Yeah. He
likes control.
He doesn't like countering at speed, because we played Chelsea and we went 1-0 up with De Bruyne, and then within 5 minutes they had 3 chances, Chelsea. The first 3 chances in the game where they opened us up. Because it becomes stretched. But when we tactically building our play up, we're actually preparing the counter-attack as we're playing. It's so clever the way we do it. When we go fast and we get 3 or 4 players, because you're breaking that speed and it breaks down, we then end up getting countered again. So everything he does is thinking about what the what ifs.
And I think there's times, I remember the game here against PSG, and I think it came from Edison, the long ball, then it ended up far stick for Mahrez scoring a goal. At times he wants us to, especially there, committing so many players forward. But in general, he doesn't want that end-to-end flow, because Manchester City lose control of the game.
That's why you see Atletico Madrid setting up the way they did last week and the way they did tonight, because they know that if the game does become that we're susceptible, even more so, to the counter-attack. But at the same time, when we keep possession, Andy's absolutely bang on, when we keep possession and we dominate teams and everything else, we're still prepared for that counter, because we're
building blocks as it goes along.
We're in control with and without the ball.
Tactically, in comparison of the game last week to the game this week, Trevor, obviously we know at this point that if it ends the way it starts, we go through. So at some point, Atletico are going to have to come out at us. Yeah,
we've got to be prepared for that. And that's just reading the ebbs and flows of a game. They might say, you know what, last 10 minutes of the first half, let's have a goal, let's open up. And the sooner we realise that, we can get in positions and know, OK, let's sit in a little bit, let's be a little bit less adventurous and make sure we just settle the game down. And good players do that. They realise there's been a slight change of formation in the opposition and they make the adjustment straight away. That doesn't have to come from the manager. Leadership on the pitch, and players realise that.
No reason why I'm coming to you for this one, Paul Dickov. No reason whatsoever. But I'd like to talk about the dark arts that we keep hearing about. And obviously, you're just the first person that I caught in my eye there. Certainly towards the end of the first game, we did see it. Gabriel Jesus picks up a booking in the 85th minute, which sees him out of this game. But I think the key moment that we saw talking about the dark arts was when Jack Grealish came on. He'd been on for a couple of minutes. He immediately starts getting fouled, and we see stuff like this.
Yeah, I thought Jack done ever so well, actually. When he came on with the ball, but to not react, people were saying he did react. He was laughing in the players' faces, which
it was Pep, wasn't it?
It was more than anything else. But look, they've obviously spoken about Jack Grealish a lot before this game anyway, and possibly would have expected him to start and targeted him. So as soon as he came on, the first thing in the full-back's mind here, and then you see Savic later on doing it as well.
I think the ball hit him somewhere before it kicked up, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a break there. I don't think he went for the face. It actually hits his foot and then jumps up, so not quite as bad as what we originally thought. On Jesus, that wasn't down to them. That was purely down to him. A complete lack of discipline. You know, it wasn't as though he was egged on. It was he didn't get a decision go for him, and completely, you know, got caught up in the moments. What's really important tonight is City do what they do. And I know, listen, you poachers turn gamekeepers here, and us too, especially, talking about not getting involved and not getting yourself wound up and getting involved in that stuff. But you still have to play on the edge. You can't go completely, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to become completely passive or react to it, and both ways they win. Do what you do and sail that line close. Keep the intensity, you know, and don't get involved. If you've got to hiss at them a little bit and show your teeth, do, but don't get involved in that stuff. I think they're bright enough to do that, and I also think they've got the ability, because we will dominate the ball. It'll be them. We'll be asking the questions of them, not them asking the questions of us.
What we've seen there on Jack, it wouldn't surprise me at all if it's like that from the first minute, because they know if they want to play as at football, they're going to get beat. You know, they know if they're going to sit back, we'll dominate the game. If they come at us, we're going to score goals.
But that's where Pep's going to give the team talk before 100%. They go out and make sure control the controllables. You control you control you, and then we'll win the game.
I think that'd be a major. Just don't get involved. As soon as you start getting involved, they're going to get on top, and they're going to win. Absolutely.
I'm a little bit nervous that Kevin De Bruyne and João Cancelo both need to, if they get a yellow card this evening, they'd be out in the first leg of the semi-final. But hey, if we get there, we'll deal with that then. Just a kind of a final word on Atletico just now, Trevor. What do you make of Diego Simeone? Did you learn anything more about him from that first game?
Well, no, not really. I mean, listen, I played against him in the World Cup in 2002, and he was horrible then, and he's still horrible. And his teams reflect him. You know, they've got the dark arts there. He wants them to get stuck in. He wants them to make it difficult and awkward for the opposition. It's not a pretty style of football, you know, but it's successful, and it has been successful for him for a long time, so he's not going to change. It's just make sure that Manchester City don't get sucked in, like Andy said, don't get sucked into any kind of individual duels or silliness, and I think if they can keep the composure, they've got a great chance of winning this game because they've got better players.
Trevor, we watched that game at the weekend, and the whole of world football spoke about it highly, about the energy and the way that both teams played. That was the contrast to what we saw in the week. Can Simeone manage in the Premier League at a top club?
I think if he's got the players, he could change his style. I think he could.
Do you?
I do. I think he could, yeah. I think he could. But I think when you listen to managers like Sean Dyche say, you know what, I play 4-4-2 because we haven't got the same standard of players as the opposition. I'd love to play a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2.
They've got great players.
They have got great players, so, but I think because he's been there for a long time, he's stuck in that kind of mode of play.
Yeah.
So at that club, I don't think he would be able to change. But I think certain clubs, like Manchester City, come into this banner. I think if you come to manage Manchester City, I don't know how long Pep's going to be here, but I think it will be an expansive, possession-based manager that comes in. It might not be the best in class, but it'll be the best in class at playing this style of football.
See, I think it's a great question, Andy. I think he would struggle at a top Premier League team. I don't think you could set up with that. And I understand what you're saying, Trev, but when you've got players like João Felix, Griezmann, Lamar, Carrasco who's on the bench.
The game's moved on, the expectations of fans, what people want to see.
Players. They're such talented players, and especially in the Premier League. But he's got them buying in to what he's doing as a manager because of the success he's had at Atletico. He comes over here and tries to do that at a top Premier League club. I think he'll struggle. And
if he doesn't get the success,
I don't think the fans will put up with it.
If he doesn't get the success, because we've seen managers come here before. Mourinho was one. Who else did it at Chelsea? Conte. Quite defensive-minded, but brilliant on the break. If you get the success and the silverware, fans will have anything.
It's such a joy to hear you all talk. I love it. I just want to just sit and just watch you all talking together. So thank you so much. And thank you to you as well for sending in your WhatsApp questions. I'm going to get through as many as I possibly can. And it's a nice, this first one that's come in from Ozzy, it's like you read our minds. I think it's quite a nice continuation on from that talk you were just having. Given the two different management styles on display tonight, Ozzy would like to know who each of you would like to play under, Pep or Simeone. Who do you think would get the best out of you?
I think if I played, I'll get sent off every week if I played under Simeone. And I wouldn't get anywhere near a Pep team, so you would think, I think we're all going to say the same thing, and we'd all love to play for Pep.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, and, you know, I watched that game last week, and I thought, listen, there's no right way to play football. Win. And then talk about how to play it afterwards, you know, and let your results do your talking. But the last 10 minutes were stuff that I've not seen and I thought had gone from the game. You'd like to think your officials will deal with that early on. You know, if you let them get away with something. But the planned attack on Laporte, where the striker went to the floor and Simeone was prepared, that was already spoke about in the change room coming out. With 2 minutes ago, this is what I want you to do. And then the players, the way it's rendered, it wasn't off the cuff. It was planned, and it was so wrong and unsavoury because Ederson came running out of his goal. He was furious because he saw what happened. It literally was try and get him to push you away, go down and hold your face, so he's out for the second leg. And it's just that is so wrong on so many levels. I get it. Anything to do to get an edge, get an extra little bit on the opposition, find a way to win. But that is not acceptable at any level of football. What they did in that last 10 minutes.
Going back to your question, I think we're kind of overseeing how disciplined you have to be in a Pep Guardiola team. Because I know they keep possession and, you know, we score a lot of goals and the winning trophies, but the discipline, I think maybe Jack struggled a little bit to adapt to the way that he can't come in off the line. He's got to stay there at times, and he can't come in and just be that free spirit which he was at Villa. So I think there's different challenges to playing for Simeone and Pep. I mean, listen, I played for Harry Redknapp. It was like, do what you want. And that's a great thing for a forward because you just feel free and you can get the ball and experiment and be creative. And then I've also played on the flip side for like managers like Jerry Francis. But I think playing for Pep, it's all well and good saying, yeah, I'd love to be in that team. But I think it's very, very difficult to be part of that and be disciplined. And we're not talking about out possession, we're talking about in possession as well.
Right, thank you. Great question, Ozzy. Well done. Right, question from Jason as well. If you were invited to the Legends 6-a-side team, which of the 3 players would you pick to play with you 3? Okay. So you're going to need a keeper. Who's going to be your keeper?
It's got to be J-Mo, isn't it? He's absolutely massive.
I'll go Weaves. Nicky
Weaves,
Weaver.
you go Weaves. What about you, Andy?
Weaves.
Right, Weaves has it. So you need two other players out with you.
Should we go Pace? Or are we going Anelka or
Got to go
Huckabee?
Pace because we've none.
No. I think Huckabee's still got a bit, hasn't he?
He looks fit as a fiddle, to be fair.
Oh, they're really thinking about it. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I'll listen. I'll
go little Sean Wright Phillips.
Oh, Shawnee. Yeah.
Just ahead of Hooks.
Sean and Hooks, yeah?
We have to pick a defender, otherwise Big Andy's going to be at the back of his own.
On his own. Get a mobile one.
Yeah, listen, I love Sean in any team.
Yeah,
for the size and the size of his heart. Wow.
Yeah.
Love it. I love that question. Although I think there's two legends coming up now that might be a bit disappointed that you didn't pick them. Both of these could have given you solid defence next to Andy. I'd love to see Andy play with these two, by the way. So, of course, I am referring to Vincent Kompany and Joleon Lescott. We spoke to them earlier in the week and they told us about their favourite European moments.
That stands out is when we played Real Madrid in the semi-final of the Champions League in my time. And I suppose it might still be because obviously when we played the final last, it was still in Corona time, so there wasn't any fans in the stadium. But certainly we played the semi-final, and I remember it was even hard for players to get tickets. That's how much there was riding on this game, and then you can feel it's the same feeling that I had for the game against United when we won when I scored a header. It's nobody's sitting, everybody's up. It looks packed. It looks, what I mentioned before, electric. And usually the way it translates, the best way to have good atmospheres, to describe good atmospheres, is when the game is live, when there's tempo to the game. People live every single moment. Ball goes out, counter opportunity, good tackle. It gets celebrated as if it's, as if it's a goal-scoring chance. It doesn't need to be a goal-scoring chance. It's just every moment has its importance in the game. I had a similar feeling, which I like to mention, because we played Hamburg in the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Really, my first year maybe at City, and that was a special feeling as well. I think they did something like an action to really get, make sure that that we had the largest kind of, it wasn't just season ticket holders. It was, anybody that was like up for the game. They were like, yeah, come to the game. And I remember it was, floatable dolls, inflatable dolls and stuff in the stands floating about. It was bananas everywhere, and just this very, very special atmosphere. And it was bouncing. And I think Caicedo scored a goal, and that game was then in the end even a fantastic game, a very, very, very good game. But yeah, it's something that as a player you want to experience. You have to experience, and you got to fight for those moments.
My best stadium of all time is probably Bayern Munich. So to play there multiple times, play there in a win, play okay as well. That was good. But it's got to be the first one. Napoli at home. Again, it was something that I wasn't aware of all the players. Obviously, Cavani, Lavezzi, Hamsik. You knew the glamorous ones. There was other players in that team that are probably less known. But to hear that music, like the players that I played in the competition prior, like Gayle, I said, when you hear the music, and again, that was one of the things, like, because he was so laid back, not laid back, but so unemotional to that side of things. For him to say, when you hear that music, and I've been to Champions League games, to be fair, as a fan, and then when you're standing there and you hear it, it was like, oh yeah, this is real. This is really real. So the first one would be the one, and what is it, like 11 years, 12 years maybe? Like, the club have only been in the competition that long, and now for the last 4 years they've been the favourites every year. So again, it just shows the progression of the club. It'd be massive for this group of players, for the fans, because I've got friends who are United fans, and that's the only thing they can have So for the fans then to have that and be like, well, you're nothing now. Like, you got nothing to say over it. They'll move it to something else, obviously. They'll change the narrative. But more importantly, the owners and the staff and the board, like, I remember seeing the chairman in the build-up to last year and him saying how important it is to win the Champions League. Like, just for whatever it may be, the brand or himself or whoever it may be, but it was like, okay, it's time then, hopefully it's done this year. For me, it's the best competition in football in regards to quality. Like, the biggest honour is to play for your country, but not every international player plays in the Champions League. I think if you go to the Champions League, I would say probably 95% of Champions League players are internationals. You know what I mean? So the quality is the pinnacle of football.
Of course, Vincent Kompany and Jolie and Lescott talking about their favourite European memories, and I've got to back Vinny on that Hamburg game. I still remember where I was sat. I still remember the feelings of the game, and what was that, like 10, 12 years ago? Like, whenever it was, I still remember it like it was yesterday. Do you guys have any standout European moments that immediately come to mind?
I think the one was under Pellegrini when we beat PSG here. I think it was to get to our first semi-final against Madrid, and Kevin De Bruyne scoring the goal that sent us through, and the Etihad went mental. I was here, my two boys were a lot younger then, and it was one of the first European games they'd came to, so to be the PSG game, quarter-final, and beating Ibrahimovic. I think Mangala had him in his pocket that day as well. All the talking into the game was about Ibrahimovic, and Kevin De Bruyne just absolutely ran the show.
We've had some serious games against PSG, haven't we, over the years?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned the one last season, the second goal that we scored, and it's sad that the fans weren't here because of obviously COVID. But everyone down there in the press box, you know, all the staff, the doctors, the subs, everyone, the adulation, the exhilaration in the stadium that night was unbelievable. But the main one was, I thought kind of the Champions League arrived at the Etihad, was against Monaco. And it's when we were introduced to Bernardo, and I, like, even on that night at the end of the commentary, I said, he looks like a Pep Guardiola player. And lo and behold, he came, I think, a season later or a couple of seasons later. But yeah, that was an unbelievable night and great result.
One of the games that really stands out for me, and we'll look at you, Andy, as I know you feel the same as I do, talking about best European moments, but that Spurs game was a cracking game, although, again, I remember exactly where I was, I remember celebrating, and then I remember being heartbroken at the end of it as well, but it was some game.
It was pure theatre, wasn't it, that final moment, when you just think you've done it, you know, and the whole place erupted. And I was in the far corner next to the Spurs fans, and they're just on their knees. And then the moment turns around in VAR, and that's just, it was like they'd won the European Cup, you know, the Champions League, let alone just having a VAR decision turned over, and the stadium just collapsed. And it was just, it was pure theatre. It was incredible to see at that time, and it was painful as well, you know. So the joyful side of it, I've also experienced, you know, the lads have talked about great goals, great times, but I've also experienced that heartbreak. And I mean, that's the magic of the Champions League, and that's the desire, I think, of everybody wanting to get to that final moment.
I love the fact that you remember where you were again, and you do in these big games. You remember exactly where you were. Were you in with the fans then?
I was in with. We were in a box. I think box 31 in the far corner there, and the box just erupted. It was unbelievable emotions, and everyone, people were grabbing each other, and then it was surreal. It really was an incredible experience to see it, and then you Spurs are just off into the sunset.
Well, hopefully we're going to make some happy memories for Andy this year. Now, tonight is going to be City's 100th game in the Champions League. Time's gone fast, eh? 100 games for City in the Champions League. So to celebrate that, we've got a lovely game for you all. You love our games. Excited?
Oh, yeah.
Look at the excitement on their faces. Of course, as always, play along at home. Let us know how you get on using the hashtag ManCity. So, 100 games in the Champions League tonight. This is a nice, simple, higher or lower game for you. So, we are going to start with Raheem Sterling. I've not got my glasses on, as you can tell. No, 62 games for City. So, play together. It's a nice team game this evening.
This is not an easy start, by the way.
Oh, yeah, of course. Look at Callum. Callum made it, by the way. Don't look at me. Right, so of course that is David Silva. Did David Silva play higher or lower, more or less games in the Champions League?
I think lower.
I would go lower as well. Raheem's played in the Champions League since he's been here.
For many seasons.
David for a few seasons before, didn't.
54 for David Silva.
That's too close, that. That's too close.
Start. Okay, that is Joe Hart. Higher or lower for Joe Hart in the Champions League?
Lower.
Is Joe Hart lower? 39. Oh, okay. Then our man Bernardo Silva.
Is this for Manchester City alone?
Yes, of our 100. Of our check it.
That's horrible.
I love you take this game serious. You always take the game serious, Paul. I love it.
5 seasons. That's close as well, by the way.
5, 6, 30. No, I think it'll be lower.
Lower.
I
would say
32,
lower.
33.
Oh, yes! Yes!
It's a measure of our success,
We're
isn't
going
it?
to keep going. But hopefully for Bernardo Silva, that number is drastically going to increase over the years as well, gents.
Yeah, he's some player. I mean, one of my favourite players, and we talk about the Liverpool game, he loves playing against Liverpool.
He really does, doesn't he?
So it doesn't surprise me that he ran the most out the weekend in the Premier League.
12.5 kilometres, Bernardo Silva. Right, of course, that is the Argentinian warrior, Pablo Zabaleta. More or less than 43 games in the Champions League for City. I love the way you sort of look at each other, don't they? Like
He's pointing to me He's pointing to me off camera. He's going.
You can talk, you can confer as well, by the way. It's okay.
I just think, looking at David Silva, I would say lower.
I just realised as well, by the way, Trevor, that's not off camera.
I know,
Everybody
it's
can
not.
see that as well.
I'll have to go. I'm going to go lower.
Yeah.
Okay, Pablo Zabaleta played less than 43. He did. He played
We're
30.
back in the game, lads.
And here he is, Phil Foden. 21-year-old Phil Foden. How many games has he played in the Champions League? They're all looking at each other. They're thinking. They're weighing it up. Paul's really concentrating. Paul's like the quiz master, by the way.
He's so close.
4 seasons.
It's not like we've got an ace and a 2, is it? Like 11 and 2.
Don't look for help over there.
Close.
Don't look for help over there.
You're actually 7. 4 seasons, 7, 28. Oh, it's as close as well, isn't it?
Right, gents.
Go on, Trev.
Just lower.
Just lower.
32, just
that's
too close.
I love it when the guests don't. We don't want you winning all the time. Okay, Yaya Toure, who, by the way, walked past me. He was here on Sunday for the Liverpool game. Yaya Toure, more or less. Higher or lower than 32? Champions League games for City. Oh, look at the concentration faces there.
It's close again.
They're all frozen.
I think lower.
Do you think lower? Go on then, go with Dickie.
Lower.
Dickie said lower.
37.
Don't listen to him again.
We've got him. This is the best game we've ever done. Usually they do too well. Okay, Ilkay Gundogan. Higher or lower? 37.
Higher.
Higher. They're going straight in. 51.
That's more like the spread.
Okay, so that's the third highest so far as well. Love that. Oh, and there's my man. Oh, there he is.
He's positioned them well as well, hasn't he?
Higher or lower than Ilkay Gundogan, Sergio Aguero?
It's a bit of a curveball. It's got
these last 3 are close.
No.
We don't trick you on purpose.
Whatever Sergio is, Fernandinho's going to be more.
Oh, you're looking ahead. Concentrate on the next game.
What are we doing? Higher, Sergio?
Higher.
It is higher! Now, 64. Are you confident that Fernandinho's more?
In the Champions League?
No need to whisper. Obviously, Fernandinho's been here 9 years.
And he plays a lot of football. He doesn't miss a lot of football, does he?
You got a trophy now? Higher.
This is a big statement. Has Fernandinho played more than 64 Champions League games for Manchester City? He has!
Yes!
Come on.
As if Fernandinho's played 69 of our 99 Champions League games.
He had his 100th game, though, didn't he, this season? Champions League.
He did. He did.
Most of them with us.
Yeah, and then that's lower, obviously.
Right, this is a chance for you to make up for the 3
We're winning,
that you've got
aren't we?
wrong.
Oh, no, we've got it in the bag.
3. Yeah, we're
Okay.
5-3 up.
Kevin De Bruyne. Less.
Yeah, lower.
Higher, lower.
Less.
How many games has Kevin De Bruyne played in the Champions League?
There we go.
49.
Yes.
Congratulations. Did you learn anything from that game?
Nothing
Yeah,
at
we
all.
won. We beat the system.
Thank you for taking part, as always, and I hope you enjoyed that one at home. Now, one man looking to make a huge impact by trying to help City lift the Champions League trophy in his first season is, of course, Jack Grealish. This is what he said about playing under the microscope and how he's learning to cope with the pressure of playing in the best team in the world.
I had one at Villa that always used to say pressure is a privilege. And that's how I just try and see it. Maybe just like obviously just to cope with the good times and cope with the bad times. I think in football it's such a roller coaster ride. You know, you're up and you're down, and when you win and you score, you know, you're over the moon and you want to go out, you want to go and see friends, family. You know, you don't get the result that you want, and you come home, you know, you're devastated. You know, you don't really want to speak to anyone. I don't go on social media or anything. And for me, it's just a thing of not getting too high when you have the highs and not getting too low when you have the lows. I think, you know, you need to find that balance of, you know, making sure you're all right and you're in the right headspace, and then you know, when things are going well, also not get too high over it. I always remember JT said to me, John Terry, he says, wait until you're standing up and you're hearing the Champions League anthem. When I was standing there, I just thought back to when he said it, and I was like, nah, this is unbelievable, you know, listening to that anthem. It's such like an iconic anthem as well. And then to have the start that I did, you know, scoring and assisting in the same game, and my Champions League debut was obviously was a dream for me. I had one at Villa that always used to say pressure is a privilege. Especially, you know, as time goes on, I think there's such a mental side to football now, where you need to be mentally in the right mindset. And, you know, pressure's a big thing in football, you know, especially for me, you know, coming here for obviously the price tag that I come for and being English and stuff. I think the media try and put a lot of pressure on your shoulders. So, you know, I think, like I says, like that coach said to me, you know, pressure's a privilege, and that's how I just try and see it.
And that was, of course, the thoughts of Jack Grealish. Now, we're going to give you clue 2 in Who's Stat. If you've just joined us, you're very welcome. Here's clue 1 if you missed it. This player joined Man City from Atletico without playing a single minute for the Spanish side. That was clue 1. Here's clue 2. This player was one of 3 Argentinians in City's 13-14 title-winning season. This player was one of 3 Argentinians in our 13-14 title-winning season. So you know by now you have to work out who the current or former Manchester City player is. Now you guys are sort of nodding at each other. Is that giving you the clue that you needed? Yeah? You need more?
He never played. The first, he never played.
Never played for Atletico.
Oh, I've got a clue.
And we signed him straight from Atletico.
Yeah, never played. And then he was one of 3 Argentinians. I think I know who it is. Only because I'm just thinking about the Argentinians that we had. Yeah. And I know where Serge came from.
Correct.
Who else was there? Got them all thinking. I do like this. This is gents, this will make you feel better. Out of all the tweets we get, and we love the fact that you guys tweet us so much using #ManCity, only one person's got it. One person in the world right now, because these guys haven't. Although I think I have, so maybe
I've got half an idea.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same.
Half an idea, Paul. Okay. So we went to the City store earlier in the week to get your thoughts ahead of tonight's games. Here's what you think, and you gave us some of your match predictions.
I think it'll be 1-0 again. Same score.
I think maybe a 1-1. We won't try that much, but I think we'll just try, get the draw, and get it done for the semi-finals.
They won't be at their strongest since they're not going to be playing defensively. So I think City will definitely beat them by a lot. I think a lot. 3-0.
2-1 City.
2-0. 2-0 for City.
I think we'll get a draw, to be honest. I think, 1-1, something like that, if they allow us to score, type of thing,
I reckon it'll be 2-0 City. Kevin De Bruyne will score and Phil Foden will score as well.
Love the positivity there coming from the fans at the City store. I do hope you are all right. So we're going to have a quick recap now of our team. If you're just joining us, very, very welcome to Matchday Live. Here's your starting 11 for City this evening. It is Ederson, Cancelo, Laporte, Stones, Walker, Rodri, Gundogan, who is captain this evening, De Bruyne, Silva, Foden and Mahrez. That is your starting 11. Your subs bench: Stefan, Carson, Diaz is back, Ake, Sterling, Grealish, Zinchenko, Fernandinho, Delap, Edozie and McAtee. That's your subs bench for this evening and your starting 11. So we are around 15 minutes away from the second leg of the Champions League quarter-final. Hope you were all getting excited, a little bit nervous. Trevor, how are you feeling now with just 15 minutes to go?
Feeling good. Just looking forward to the game. Hopefully the boys can pull off the game plan. Stay composed. Don't be trying to go for goal too soon. Be patient, move the ball, tire them out a little bit. Obviously it'll be warmer over there. Play to the conditions and just get a feel for the game. Give nothing cheap away early doors. And then as the game flows, start getting into them.
Andy?
Yeah, just trust the process, do what we do, but we're seeking perfection in every time we go onto the pitch, and that's in all areas, out of possession, in possession, and if we do, we'll be okay.
Paul, we're going to be okay?
We're always going to be okay. I fancy us tonight strongly. I just think that people keep talking about coming up against this Atletico team. We come up against teams like that all the time. Teams that are going to defend against us, have a low block, get everybody behind the ball and look to hit us in the break. So we're experiencing that. I think I'm going to have to be patient like we were last week at the Etihad. Keep their heads and don't get involved. Because you know what you're going to get even before you step on the pitch with these tonight. They are going to try and get under your skin. They are going to try and upset you because they know that if it's a 50-50, if it's them against us, that they're going to get beat. So they'll try to do everything they can to try and upset us. So keep your head, be patient, and the quality will show through.
We've had a lovely question in on the WhatsApp from David. Thank you for sending us this message, David. I love it. So initially it's for Andy and Paul, but you get involved as well, Trev. What was the pre-match team talk like prior to the 99 playoff final? Was it motivating to get the players pumped up or calming to settle the nerves? And what do you think Pep's will do tonight for his team talk?
Paul.
I can't remember the team talk. I'm sure Joe Royal gave us a fantastic one going out, so not anything against the gaffer. I don't think he had to give us one because we all knew what was at stake and the preparation was all done. A lot of people don't realise we had 3 weeks between the playoff semi-final and the actual final, so we knew what we were doing before we even went out there. Yeah, and I don't think there's any Churchillian speeches, before when you're arriving at a changing room. Normally you have a debrief, at your pre-match, and a few things will be said then. But I think, towards the end of my career, I liked quiet. I just liked peace. When I was younger, I used to want to run through the wall to get onto the pitch. It was totally different. He did half the time as well, trust me on that.
But I just like calmness towards the end. I think that was just an age thing when I was at City. I just like it calm and let me focus and just let me worry about my job and concentrate on what I need to do.
I think obviously I wasn't involved in that. I was there as a supporter, but for me, when the big, I was there watching as a supporter.
You were at 99 as a supporter?
No, at Wembley. I was watching.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the bigger the game, I think you've got to calm players because it's one of them where you can get nervous, you can play the occasion, you can feel the occasion, and I think managers that I've played for, when you're in big games, it's all about calming. All the work's been done, all the preparation's been done. Just go and execute it. Keep it nice and calm in there. Little jilt just before you go out. But nothing silly.
I think the biggest thing is, and look, it's completely chalk and cheese at that time. Joe trusted us as a group of players. Yeah. And I think the big thing with Pep and this group of players, he trusts them 100 million % to go out there and do the job.
So that was planned to leave it that late and put all the fans through that?
I'm not coming. I'm still living off the back of it now, mate. Don't worry about that.
Rightly so.
What were you like as a manager? Because obviously you had some big games. I mean, thinking about...
Have you remembered
Yes,
now?
I have remembered. When Oldham took on Liverpool, who you beat, what was your team talk like before that?
I didn't say anything. I didn't have to say anything. I went in and put Liverpool's team up, and it was Suarez, Sterling, and Gerrard. There's just Sturridge, you name it, Carragher. They were all playing, and I couldn't tell my players how to go and play against them.
They're motivated, aren't they?
I just wanted them. I just say to them, look, it's the FA Cup, sliding TV, go and make a name for yourselves.
as I imagine you didn't need to G your players up when you managed in the Champions League.
No, it's like you say, the stage is there, you know, and I always use that. The platform's there. You want a stage in life to show what you can do. There it is. You know, don't miss the opportunity. Make sure when you come off, you haven't missed this game. And they take care of themselves. You know, all the work's done in the week for me. You know, in the build-up and all that, and the individual one-on-one talks that you have, where you can get inside people's heads in them one-on-ones. But when it comes to those big games like that, you know, you feel the energy in the change room anyway. I always thought when I played, whatever doubts I had, and I had massive amount of voices in my head, me going into games, it was. But as soon as you're on that pitch and the referee blew that with us, everything just goes. And you just come into this kind of bubble and you're just in that zone. So all the fear goes, doesn't it? But, you know, the apprehension, the fear that if I make this, if I do this, if anything goes wrong. As soon as you get on that pitch and the whistle goes, it's beautiful.
It's more of a release as soon as you walk out. As soon as you get out that tunnel and you walk in the pitch, because you've not got the outside pressures of the media talking about being a big game, your teammates talking to you about it, the manager, the coaching staff, everybody talking about it. And it used to make you a little bit anxious in the changing room before you go out for a lot was said. But as soon as you went out there, it was just like...
It goes, yeah.
Yeah, come on then.
Great question, David. Thank you so much. You guys are absolutely smashing it tonight on the WhatsApp questions. Now, as I've mentioned, this is our 100th Champions League game this evening. We've got some lovely stats to do with this, gents. Love your opinions on this. So, first 50 versus last 49 Champions League games. So, in the first 50, we won 21. In the last 49, we've won 34. So, we've definitely found our feet in this competition, Paul.
Yeah, we have, but I just think that just shows, touched on it earlier, but having the experience in the Champions League, having the players within your squad that's got experience of playing at the top level and winning things as well. You know, in the first, that was new to us all. We all loved it. You know, City being in the Champions League for the first time. I don't think there was any real expectations at that time, early doors, whereas the expectations now is massive. But that expectation goes with the squad and the players and the manager that we've got.
So more goals scored, less goals conceded in the last 49 as well, Andy.
Yeah, it's developing, isn't it? You know, season on season. You know, with Pep now 4 or 5 years, and it's now all the marks of him. You know, this is his unit. And you see the improvement year on year in the performances as well, and all the stats show us that they are improving gradually, but there's a definite change.
So we're less than 10 minutes away from kick-off in tonight's second leg of the quarter-finals. 100th game tonight, Trevor. We'll be certainly hoping to be adding another win to that column.
100%. I think, again, you know, going back to the start of the game, we've started games really well in the past. I think it's important we do that. Set our stall out, make sure we dominate possession, win them 50-50s. When we get the ball, keep it and make them work hard to win it back.
I'm going to push you all now, starting with Trevor. Give me a score prediction for the game and then, yeah, overall.
For the game, I think they might score at home. So I'm going to go 2-1 win for Manchester City.
Do they score first or do they score?
I hope not.
Getting really specific here.
I hope not.
OK.
So 3-1 overall.
OK, thank you. Andy, give us your kind of final thoughts on the game. How's it going to go first?
Listen, my heart sees us all with the big smiles on our face and leaving here tonight dancing down the corridor. My head says it's going to be a tough night of football. Just because of the history, you know, expectations, pressure, and how difficult they're going to make it for us. And there'll be a game plan in place where they'll go and ask massive questions of us later on in the game. So my head, 1-1.
Andy!
1-1.
No!
I see it close. I see it really close.
Andy, please!
I've got to be honest, that's what I see it. I see it 1-0, I've got to say.
Oh, Paul, can you make me feel better?
Yeah, no, my head and my heart are saying the same thing. I think we're going to dominate possession. I think we're going to win 2-0. You know, whether that be first half, whether that's like last week here. I know it ended up 1-0, but Sterling and Grealish coming off the bench if needed as well. At some point, they are going to have to come out and get a goal, whether it's the start of the game like that, which I don't think they will, or the last 20 minutes, last 30 minutes. And when they do that, the quality we've got to open them up and score goals is there for everybody to see.
Oh, Paul, I've never hoped you were right so much in my life. I just couldn't take a 1-1. I don't think, Andy. You'll have to just watch after me. I'll be in the corner somewhere. Key battles for tonight, Trevor. Who do we want to keep an eye on?
I think obviously we've got to keep an eye on João Felix. I think he's a real threat, real talent. Griezmann, obviously a World Cup winner. Paul said earlier he's got great quality, and like we said earlier at the top of the show, a lot of the goals that they've scored have either been scored by him or been assisted by him. So if you can take care of them two players, obviously defensively we've got to be on it, got to be switched on. It's difficult, especially when you've got so much possession, which I think we will have, to stay switched on and be alert. That takes communication, concentration, and that's what the boys have got to concentrate at the back.
Give us a man of the match prediction. Who's going to be our star man tonight, Andy?
Star man tonight.
I see you're not looking to the right.
Or the left.
Foden.
Yes, Phil Foden. He's got the whole game tonight, not just 1 minute and 19 seconds there that he needed last time to make the impact. Big thanks to Trevor Sinclair, Andy Morrison and to Paul Dickov for joining me on Matchday Live this evening. We will all be here at half-time and full-time, where hopefully we will be dancing round the studio and celebrating City reaching the semi-final of the Champions League. It's currently 1-0. Don't forget, no away goals, so it is currently 1-0 to City. Get your commentary for tonight's game with the brilliant Alistair Mann, the wonderful Michael Brown on the Manchester City app. Enjoy the game, Blues. We will be back at half-time, and we're going to hand over to you, Ali.
Well, thank you, Natalie. Well, weeks don't get much bigger than this, do they? And yet for City, it just seems like